Hey guys, and welcome to the world's greatest reality show, Brexit Britain 2020. A country so exceptional it had to impose economic sanctions upon itself. And also, welcome back to By Any Means Necessary. Thank you for all of your messages here, and a special thanks here to everybody who has signed up to my channel. I've reached 2,000 people. This is absolutely unbelievable. I've reached 2,000, so thank you so much for that. Listen, I feel so blessed. Honest to God, I really do feel so blessed with 2,000 people that have signed up to. I just really do, So thank you so much for that. Right, I'll go through all your messages. I'll answer as many as I can. Yeah, but I will like all your messages for definite. Right, so firemen. The firemen, right, are now being asked if they would get out there and I don't know if they want them to drive the fuel tankers or if they just want them to drive HGV lorries because obviously the firemen obviously have got the class one license, so so they can But I was thinking, maybe just to kill two birds with one stone, right? Maybe because this is Brexit Britain after all, right? So all ideas are welcome. So if the firemen, fill their tanks with petrol, right, and then right deliver it to so what they could be doing, right, is obviously if they're called out to a fire on the way, oh, then their tanks will be full of like fuel, and you can't spray fuel on a fire, can you? No, no. This idea hasn't been thought through, but right, this is Brexit Britain, right? So it's a working idea, right? It's a working idea. So somehow along the line they could probably dump their fuel somewhere and then go to the fire and then go back, pick up the fuel and then take it to the petrol stations. After all, this is Brexit Britain. So anything's possible. But no, so they're asking the firemen. I don't know what they're asking. I just heard something about the firemen are being asked to help out, right? As if the firemen haven't got enough to do as it is. Yeah, I know that. I know that they're shift workers and all that. Do you know what I mean? But when they're not working, I'm sure they would like to be doing stuff with their families and that type of thing. Do you know what I mean? I'm sure that the firemen, right, have got stuff to do, right, when they're not working on shift, because when they're working on shift they're away. I think they're away for a couple of days or whatever. Do you know what I mean? So because they sleep in the stations, isn't it? So they're away. It's not like they just it's not like they go home every night. Or I don't know. Some of them might, but I don't know. But I think that the ones that are on shift, they obviously have to stay in the in the fire station itself, so they can so if something does kick off, they're ready to dive down the pole. Oh, did they actually did they actually use one of those poles? And yeah, so and then they're ready to go. Do you know what I mean? So but I'm sure when the firemen, I'm sure they've got stuff that they would like to do right while they're not on shift. Do you know what I mean? So it might be another idea. Yeah, that's not really thought out. That's not really been thought out properly by the government. Like we're gonna like send the Europeans 5,000 visas for HGV drivers. Five, right, and they must come over, right? They can come to get abused, right? Really, really disgusting work conditions, right? And then on the 24th, right, just before Christmas Day, just before Jesus' birthday, you can get the hell out of here, right? Just another idea, yeah, not thought through. Just like get Brexit done, right? Not thought through, right? Nothing Boris Johnson does is ever thought through. Do you know what I mean, right? And then they want and then they're asking for I think it's there's another 5,000 turkey people that deal with turkeys, turkey pluckers, and all these type of people. Do you know what I mean? Because what's going to happen, is our turkeys, we're not. There's going to be a lack of English and British turkeys, in the supermarkets this year. So we're going to have a lot of obviously we're going to have a lot of foreign birds. Yeah, foreign birds. We're gonna have a lot of them, on our shelves, right? So and then next year it's going to get even worse because our turkey farmers and that, are just not. They're not going to really start producing Do you know what I mean? Because it doesn't make any sense because they haven't got any workforce that can deal with it. Do you know what I mean? And when you're saying to people, you know what, you can come over for a short space of time and then you have to get the fuck out of here. Do you know what I mean? That's not really the done thing. Do you know what I mean? You know, people don't really want to do that. People want to come and they want to settle. They want to settle in a place. Do you know what I mean? They want their families to come and settle in a place and their children to go to school and all them things there. Do you know what I mean? So offering people like 3 months visas and them things there, that's not going to really work for the Europeans because they can do a lot better, right, in the EU. They can do a lot better and a lot easier because remember, yeah, all of the stuff, yeah, that we need, right, will still be produced for us in the EU, right. So whether or not, yeah, those guys, whether or not, right, they're working here and producing that stuff, right, or they're working in the EU and producing that stuff is ultimately going to end up, right, in on our shelves, right. So it's whether or not you're happy saying, you know what, let's keep those motherfuckers out, right? Because up in here, there's some racist motherfuckers up in this country, so we'd prefer them to stay over there, pay their tax over there, rather than come over here, pay their tax over here, right? And then, you know, the situation that Britain has put this country in. Do you know what I mean? The Tories have put this country in. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, you know, I don't know because like, you know, all of the changing of the regulations and the rules and all that type of things. You know what I mean? It just means, yeah, that you know, if you're producing certain things in this country, you're not going to be able to get them into the EU because they won't allow them in. Do you know what I mean? Because you have to stay aligned. You have to stay aligned with them. And you know, if your food has got GM and all that in it, right? So that is not going to be allowed within the EU. And you know, I believe that's the type of stuff that they're going to be bringing over here. Do you know what I mean? A lot of like GM crops and all this type of stuff. Do you know what I mean? So you know, it's not really the type of food that I want to be eating. Do you know what I mean? You know, because you know, other places, other parts of the world, yeah, have complete different standards to what we have. Our standards, you know, our standards was very high, right? But you know, and that was obviously when we was inside the EU, our standards was very high. Do you know what I mean, right? But you know, they want to lower the standards on everything in this country. Do you know what I mean? So you know, there's countries around the world, and you know, if you're eating their food, yeah, their food have got like things like a mouse dropping allowance. So you know, per hundred grams or whatever it is, right? They're allowed to have X amount of like mice hairs or rat hairs. Do you know what I mean? Or fly larvae. And whereas in the EU, right? They just say, you know what, we'd prefer you not to have any mice hairs or any fly larvae at all. Would prefer you not to have so no, we wouldn't allow you to even think about that. That wouldn't be within the rules in the EU. But there's countries around the world that type of stuff is within the rules. Do you know what I mean? So they've got an allowance, right? If you've got to say like a can of tinned oranges, for example, in syrup, right? Then there's certain countries, yeah, they've got an allowance, right, of what type of, if they can have mice droppings, right, or all sorts, just all sorts of different nastiness, right, within them, right, and that's the difference, right, with the standards what the EU sets, right, and other countries around the world. Their standards are a lot different, and Britain wants to do trade deals with all these type of countries. Do you know what I mean? Whose standards, yeah, do not align with the EU at all. Do you know what I mean? Because as I say, the EU haven't got an allowance for mouse droppings, for fly larvae, or anything like that, or maggots, or anything like that. And other countries have an allowance for that they're allowed a certain amount. It's cool. A certain amount for them. It's cool for a certain amount of that to be within the food. Do you know what I mean? And that's not really something that we really want over here. Do you know what I mean? So for me, right, if I see certain foods from certain parts of the world, yeah, I would never be touching. I would never be touching their food. Do you know what I mean? Anything with any type of GM, or anything like that. Do you know what I mean? I will never ever be touching anything like that at all. Do you know what I mean? It's not going to be for me personally. Do you know what I mean? So there are a lot of there's a lot of jobs out there, right? A lot of jobs out there, and there's people out there, yeah, offering like high amounts of money. Listen, I know. Listen, we're not stupid here. We know it's not going to last long. It's not going to last. It's only going to last as long as they've got, as till they've got enough staff that can say, you know what, you say, well, you know what, I'm out of here, and they say, well, don't worry about that. We'll just we'll just get someone else in, right? Once they know that that is the case, yeah, that they know to themselves, well, they'll start putting the money back down to where the minimum wage or whatever is, right? But you see, the problem is, yeah, is that the government, yeah, all the time, yeah, have had, they're the people who are in control of this, right? They are in control of this, right? So, they're telling us about a high wage society, yeah, a high wage economy that they're looking for, right? But listen, none of that is true. They're not looking for that, right? They're not looking for that at all, right? They're telling us they're looking for that, right? They've dragged us out of the EU, right, on completely false pretenses. Do you know what I mean? They're telling us, oh well, because now they're jumping on this thing. We're saying, well, because they've turned it all around now. They've gone from sovereignty to whatever else, and now they're on. Oh well, people voted Brexit because, they wanted a higher wage society, a higher wage economy, right? Right. But come on, guys. That's not true. None of that is true, is it? Really? No, it's true. Because if they wanted that, right, then they would have just said, you know what? They'd have set the minimum wage, right? You want a high wage. You want a high wage economy, right? Then you just say, well, we're setting the minimum wage here. We're setting the minimum wage at £17 an hour, right? Because so for these companies, right? Because we're seeing now, right, a lot of the transport companies, yeah, are paying drivers like 18 to £25 an hour, right? So a lot of them are doing that, right? Which means, yeah, that they've always had the ability to do that. Always had the ability to do that, right? None of them haven't got any real extra work so far, really. Do you know what I mean? So they've all had the ability to do that. Listen, there's plenty of companies out there who have nowhere near the ability to do that. Okay, they do not. There's plenty of companies, right? If you're running a company and you've got you've got 3 or 4 trucks, right? Then you probably can't pay drivers 18 to 20 to £25 an hour. It's probably not going to happen to you. Do you know what I mean? It's only the real big boys who can do that. Do you know what I mean? But so how is it, right? They're going to go for a high wage economy, right? If we've got companies out there we know physically cannot pay that type of money, how is that going to work? You see, so it's all sleight of hand. Right, they're just telling these people. Like the red wall and people like that. They're just telling them what they need to hear. Do you know what I mean? But what you guys should really do, yeah, is you guys should take a read, yeah, of Britannia Unchained, right, and that will tell you all you need to know, right, about the Tories, right, because that was written by several of the Tories, like Priti Patel, Dominic Raab, Kwasi Kwarteng, you know what I mean, and a few more of them, right. But that book tells you all you need to know, right, about them, because they describe the British workforce as work shy and lazy, right, and just interested in, I think it was just like pop music and football or something like that. Do you know what I mean? But the way how they described, yeah, the British workforce, right, then you understand what these people really think of you. Do you know what I mean? So that's the thing. Do you know what I mean? These people are not looking for no high wage society. Why do I keep saying society? No high wage economy. They're not looking for that. They're not looking for that at all. If they was looking for that, yeah, then they wouldn't. Even like the right wing of the Labour Party, right, is like it's like £15. Nah. So, do you know what I mean? If Labour, right, are not going to go for that, then who is? Who is? If the Labour Party, like the party for the workers, if they're not going to go for that, then who is? Because how long before the minimum wage goes up to £15? Because I'm sure right? That I'm sure that Corbyn was asking for a £10 minimum wage, yeah, from 2017, right? I think it was £10 or £12 minimum wage, right, back then, right? And the minimum wage is 8.91, and if you're on that and you're Tory, your life's really fucked up, right? But I just seen that I just had an interview with Ken Loach, right? And, Ken Loach, yeah, just like, you know what? Because obviously he's from the left of the party, and he has been chucked out of the he's no longer a member. He's been chucked out, right? And you realise, right, that Labour, the under Keir Starmer, yeah, Labour's lost 150,000 members. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, Corbyn brought a lot. He brought a lot of members to the party. Do you know what I mean? Right, and Labour, they've lost 150,000 members under Keir Starmer now. Do you know what I mean? So, one of the first things out of Ken Loach's mouth was virtually about food banks, which is one of the things I really care about. Do you know what I mean? I really care, right? That we're the sixth largest economy in the world, right? But food banks, we've got more food banks in this country than McDonald's. Right, that's a shameful, disgusting thing. Do you know what I mean? It was just really, really, really shameful and disgusting, right? And yeah, have you ever heard Starmer talk about food banks? Corbyn used to talk about food banks all the time, and this is the reason why they could never have him in power, because he would go against the convention, against it he'd go. Do you know what I mean? Because we're not supposed to have food banks in this country. It's a shameful thing. Right, and these Tories, they're not ashamed of food banks. The right wing of the Labour Party, they're not ashamed of food banks. None of these people are ashamed of food banks. I'm ashamed of food banks because it's a disgusting thing. Do you know what I mean? Shouldn't have food banks in the fucking country. It's ridiculous. It's completely ridiculous. We was the sixth largest economy in the world. We've got people going to fucking food banks. Ridiculous. Completely ridiculous. So Ken Loach, this is the type of things that Ken Loach was speaking about. Do you know what I mean? And obviously the Labour Party is really divided. Do you know what I mean? Because we've got the Tories that have taken over. So the party's really divided. Do you know what I mean? And whether or not they can get their act together. Do you know what I mean? But you should try and listen to the interview with Ken Loach, right? With Matt Fry, right? And it was really good interview. Do you know what I mean? And he just basically said what was on his mind, right? And and so for them to throw someone like that out, right? Because you see, we from the left, yeah, we care about the Labour values that we're supposed to have. Right, and Labour values, right? Is supposed to is supposed to look after the people of the country, and if we're not prepared to do that, and we're just like Tory light, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? So that's what's going on with them. Do you know what I mean? But you seriously try and check out that interview, right? And East Lothian, yeah, they're having real problems. Like obviously this is right up Brexit related. Right, because they're having real problems like in social care, right? So I think they're asking like people's family members if they could step in and help. Do you know what I mean? Because they're having real problems in getting workers. All the after all, you Brexiters who knew what you was voting for, right, with your damn motherfucking racist self, right, decided that you wanted all the Europeans to fuck off, right, and now we're having I need to spell this out to you guys because you guys are really stupid, right? And now we're having problems getting staff all over the country, right? And that's down to you Brexiters, right? When you who knew, right, that that if you stopped freedom of movement of people and freedom of movement of goods, right, that your country would start grinding to a motherfucking halt. Who knew? Right, at the moment, right, we've got all I'm hearing on the radio when I'm hearing about traffic, yeah, it's the queue to get into the petrol station. So people are having problems trying to get past the queue to get into the petrol stations. It's up on the motherfucking news all the time. And that's down to you motherfucking stupid ass Brexiters, right? Following Nigel Farage, ex-National Front. Because that's who you motherfuckers have always been, isn't it? Right? Yeah. So, yes, as I said, East Lothian, like, major problems they're having with social care out there. And that's going to spread all over the country. Because because a lot of these jobs, right, in social care have been done by migrant labour. A lot of these jobs, right, so it's going to spread all over the country, and and then we've got like they're warning us that this Christmas, there's going to be a lack of stuff on our shelves, and one of our favourites, right, the pigs in blankets may not be there. But I think what's happening here is that I think that they're hoping, right, that there's a bit more on the shelves, right, than we thought there was going to be. That's what these guys are hoping. They're hoping, if there's a little bit more on the shelves, right, then they'll get away. Then we'll get away with it, and everyone will look at Boris Johnson and say, oh look, yeah, Boris, he saved Christmas. You know what gets me, right, is these are the people who have destroyed all these things, and then they want to be held up and, well, I saved that, right, when they couldn't when they're not saving shit, right. This country, right, is going to pot. This country is going to pot because of you stinking dirty Brexiters who decided to vote against your own interest, right? Knowing, right, that it was going to destroy this country. Now we have fuel shortages. 140,000 of our fellow citizens are dead. Our farming is destroyed. Our fishing industry is in complete and utter crisis, right? Our our artists and these are having problems, getting into Europe, to tour and these things, right? Down to our qualifications are not recognised within the EU, right? This is down to you dirty, stinking Brexiters, right, who decided to vote against your own interest because you was born with an alleged racist gene in your lives are completely worthless, right? And you have done this to the country. You've made this country as worthless as your lives. Anyway, guys, this is By Any Means Necessary. I'm the MC John Ribs. It was really nice to speak to you guys. Comments below.